The story starts with a plane, IA-42, flying from the US to London. The flight is led by Captain William, with Daniel as his co-pilot. They have worked together before. Captain William shares that the weather looks good and they expect to arrive in London in 7 hours. Everything seems fine until suddenly the plane hits turbulence and all the electronic devices stop working properly. Captain William tries to get help from air traffic control, who tell him there's nothing wrong with the plane and the weather ahead is clear. This news comforts the captain, but soon he spots a huge storm ahead, which is a surprise because they were told the weather would be fine. When he tries to contact air traffic control again, there's no response. With the storm close and no way to avoid it, they have no choice but to go through it. The announcement was made to the passengers to fasten their seatbelts and sit carefully. Then, Captain William and co-pilot Daniel managed to navigate the plane through the storm. Inside the storm, conditions worsen, and the passengers become frightened and scream. However, they manage to escape the storm and stabilize the plane. To their astonishment, they find that the sky is now completely dark, and it is nighttime, but just some minutes ago it was still daytime. All communication signals are lost, and they can't contact anyone except for the radar, which showed if any planes are flying nearby. This situation feels very odd to both pilots, but they hope it's just a technical issue that will soon be resolved by the control room. They continue flying, but after 30 minutes, there's still no signal from the control room, and their radar doesn't show any other planes nearby. This is very unusual because usually, many flights are operating worldwide at any given time. Captain William starts to feel that something strange is happening. After exiting the storm, Captain William decides to fly the plane lower to understand what's happening on the ground. Following this plan, he and co-pilot Daniel descend. At a lower altitude, their radar detects many aircraft, which initially pleases William. However, Daniel notices that these aren't ordinary planes. Looking down, they see numerous fighter jets bombing a city, indicating there is a war going on below. This sight terrifies the passengers. Crew members try to reassure everyone, telling them that they're safe and in control of the situation. Despite their efforts to calm the passengers, the pilots are just as frightened by the unfolding events. As they try to make sense of the situation, some of the fighter planes spot them and start to pursue. Realizing the potential danger, the pilots quickly rely on their radar to navigate the plane back to a higher altitude to avoid any possible attacks. Now safe for the moment, the passengers inside the plane are completely terrified and demand to know the truth from the flight crew. The crew member, however, asks for patience as they themselves are unclear about the situation. Captain William is frantically trying to establish contact with the control room but fails every time. Neither pilot knows their current location. Captain William insists they need to descend again to figure out where they are, despite co-pilot Daniel's reluctance due to the dangerous scenario they witnessed below. William argues they don't have enough fuel to keep flying indefinitely and will run out in a few hours. Daniel, understanding the gravity of the situation, agrees. Meanwhile, two passengers, Dale and Bennett, who are historians, deduce what's happening based on their observations and decide it's crucial to share their insights with the captain. The flight crew doesn't allow Dale and Bennett to enter the cockpit, so they shout from the door, explaining their theory to the captain. They say the fighter planes seen below were from an era that ended in 1945. Specifically those used by Nazi forces during World War II. This revelation angers Captain William, who instructs the crew member to send them back. Despite this, Dale and Bennett insist they have somehow time traveled to the year 1940, witnessing events from World War II. They argue that the lack of signals is due to the limited technology of the 1940s and that the attack they saw matches historical accounts of Nazi military actions. Captain William is skeptical and tells them to return to their seats, instructing them not to spread their theory among other passengers. With the plane's fuel depleting, the pilots decide to descend again. During this attempt, they manage to establish contact with an Englishman named Nigel. William explains their urgent need for help and landing, but Nigel is suspicious, worrying they might be Nazis. Upon hearing Nigel's suspicions, Captain William starts to connect the dots about the time travel theory mentioned by Dale and Bennett. He asks Nigel for the current date, and Nigel responds that it's June 17, 1940. This revelation shocks Captain William, confirming the historian's claim was true. Struggling to persuade Nigel of their peaceful intentions, William invites Dale and Bennett to speak with Nigel, hoping they can clarify the situation. Dale and Bennett share with Nigel an imminent historical event, the sinking of a British ship, which is about to occur. Nigel is astonished by their knowledge of such a specific event and decides to verify this information with his superiors. Meanwhile, the historians explain to Captain William that they might have time traveled to 1940 due to a space-time anomaly, suggesting their stay in this era might be temporary because they do not belong to this timeline, to ensure their survival until they can return to their original time. However, their discussion is overheard by another passenger, who then informs everyone on the plane about their accidental journey to the year 1940 and they are in the midst of World War II, and flight crew are lying. He suggests hijacking the cockpit to land. While some are skeptical, a few decide to act on this suggestion and head towards the cockpit. However, their plan is quickly thwarted by two military soldiers among the passengers, who subdue the would-be hijackers and secure them to prevent any further reckless actions. Meanwhile, Nigel gets back in touch with Captain William to confirm the accuracy of their warning about the sinking ship. This vital information allowed them to save thousands of lives, earning their gratitude and Nigel's willingness to assist further. However, to provide effective help, Nigel needs their precise location. Captain William and the historians make an educated guess but realize it's insufficient for a rescue. In an attempt to signal for help, William decides to use the plane's lights, hoping British forces might see them. Unfortunately, this action attracts the attention of German fighter planes instead, leading to an attack. The situation becomes dire, with passengers terrified by the gunfire. Recognizing the technological limitations of 1940s fighter aircraft, Captain William decides to use this to their advantage. He executes a daring maneuver by shutting down the plane's engines and rapidly descending, hoping to evade the German plane's gunfire and outmaneuver their older technology. After executing the maneuver, Captain William quickly ascends the plane, while the pursuing German fighters, lacking the power to follow the steep climb, crash to the ground. The plane is temporarily safe, but co-pilot Daniel has been injured by gunfire, and the aircraft itself has sustained considerable damage. Furthermore, their fuel is rapidly depleting, leaving them unable to ascend further. William informs Nigel that they urgently need assistance, as they have only 60 minutes of fuel left. Suddenly, two more German fighter planes appear, launching missile attacks that shatter the plane's windows and plane starts to lose balance. The passengers are now immensely frightened. Using a quick and decisive action, and leveraging the plane's advanced radar, William manages to evade and the attacking planes collide and explode with each other, neutralizing the immediate threat. However, the explosion from the missile attack further compromises the plane's balance. To stabilize the aircraft and facilitate their rescue, William decides to drop the high-tech radar. He hopes that by dropping it, the British Army, with Nigel's coordination, can use the radar to locate and intercept enemy planes, while also guiding them to safety. They communicate this plan to Nigel, explaining their intention to drop the radar as a beacon for assistance. Moving forward with their plan, the flight crew searches for a parachute to safely drop the radar without damaging it. An elderly passenger steps forward with a parachute, which they use to secure the radar before releasing it from the plane, keeping Nigel informed of their actions. Unfortunately, the radar lands near Nazi soldiers who initially retrieve it. However, British forces quickly engage, overcoming the Nazis and securing the radar, which is then promptly delivered to Nigel. Nigel sets up the radar at his location and utilizes it to guide Captain William towards a safe area. As the plane's fuel levels dangerously approach depletion, William notices the same type of storm they encountered before. Recalling the historian's theory about time correcting itself, he realizes they must navigate through this storm to return to their original time. He instructs the passengers to brace themselves once more for the turbulent journey ahead. As the pilots steer the damaged plane into the heart of the storm, every passenger prepares for the worst, entrusting their lives to the crew. Miraculously, the historian's hypothesis about time travel and the storm acting as a gateway proves accurate. The plane successfully returns to the present time, and the pilots make contact with air traffic control to land in Berlin. After a harrowing 6 hours that tested their limits, the crew and passengers can finally relax, knowing they're safe. As they begin to leave the plane, Captain William leaves the cockpit and notices that all the passengers have already left. except for the old man who provided the parachute for the radar. This man is found writing a book titled The Radar System That Saved Europe. It's then revealed that this very radar system played a crucial role in defeating the German army back in 1940. And this old man is Saint Nigel, who played a key role in that historical moment. The old Nigel already knew this flight would time travel, so he brought the parachute on the flight. The story concludes here. Please consider liking the video and subscribe to the channel for more sci-fi contents, as you can see very few who watch subscribe my channel. Thank you.